They go through the forests and they knock everything in their way to create jobs or to sell to other countries. And as the future goes on, there's nothing left for our people. Nothing left to enjoy. I know here, just in our area, we have no more sacred mountain. It's getting overcrowded with people. They're building right up to the peak of that mountain, which is Tlawelnguk, behind us here. There's a whole story back there of the Saanich Nation. The very spiritual way that we look to that mountain. We still hold it a very sacred place. I guess that's why we've survived. That's why we're here during the floods. That all families prepared for that flood. In the past, we had prophets had foretold what was going to happen, and in that time, before Christ, and we were told that our people were told to prepare because there was going to be rains coming that it's not going to stop, And as time went on, the water started to rise. But our people were ready for it. And that's where they anchored their canoes to Tlawelnguk here. And they say that if you're clean, you'll still find that cave up there where this is all stored. They stored all this rope that they'd made to anchor themselves up there. And you can still sometimes, if you walk up there, you'll see the spirit of the wolf, the protector of those caves up there. Whenever there's a stranger that comes around those places, they probably see that wolf and they'll lead them away from there, And the word Saanich, I guess, is derived from that time that the spirit of raven was amongst our people when the waters stopped rising and they were all anchored to Tlawelnguk. And they looked around and Raven said, Saanich. Saanich means a rising of land or an outcropping of land out of either level ground. In this case, it was the water. And Mount Finlis and Little Saanich Mountain, all those were out of the water. And Raven said to Saanich. So naturally, it's called Saanich, but it's actually Saanich. Which were some of the things that were told by our people. And some of those things that the stories or the legends and the teachings came with it of how we must carry ourselves, to practice the sacred things that were given to us at that time, the healing things that were given to us. We hold that very sacredly. We practice it spiritually. With other people, I guess they say God, but with us it's Creator.
Could I ask how the family is an important part of transmitting the teachings, of giving guidance as to the values?
I think one of the things that is missing today too is that the extended family concept of our culture and the traditions. I grew up in a longhouse. I was born here in a longhouse in 1925. And in that longhouse, my 3 uncles lived in there with us. It was a dwelling there. There was 4 families living in this longhouse. Wasn't my parents, it wasn't my father and mother that sat me down. It was my uncles, 3 of them, that shared with me and taught me things that I should carry myself with. And that's one of the, I guess, things that we hold very highly is the principle of self-respect. He said, without self-respect, at least he used to tell me, he said, without respecting yourself, you can't respect others. And I think that value today, even amongst our people, is I think we're struggling with that because of the system that we have now. It's basically monetary, I think. There's no more the spiritual value that was taught to us. When I wanted to be a speaker, my uncles were the ones that shared with me what I should do. And when I was in puberty, and when I was 13 or 12 or 13, there was a preparation for a time that I'm going to become a man. And those were taught by my uncles. And how I had to conduct myself, and the attitude I had to have in the change. The voice changed, and there was time to sort of start looking after myself. I wasn't dependent on my parents for whatever there had to be done. I had to go out and do it. When I was 13, 14, I provided everything for my grandparents and grandmother because of those teachings that those uncles gave me. And I had to do it repeatedly if I wasn't able to, come back and say, well, I went up the mountains and I took my cleansing baths and I done this and nothing happened. They said, well, you go right up there again. And I had to go up for, I guess, months. And finally, I was able to get close to animals. I was really surprised. And I tell young people that, and they don't believe me. And I was able to go along the woods like this and stop and talk to a little bird or a squirrel or a deer came close by and never got scared of me. And as time went on, I got real close to animals. And then my uncle said, okay, you're ready. He said, you're ready to start your learning on speaking. He said, there's different tones that you have to use in speaking. One, when there's a memorial, if there's sadness in the house. And teaching, you have a different tone. And to lecture, you have a different tone. All those things I had to listen to when my uncles were teaching me. And I couldn't go out like now. You let children go out and they play. I sat there until lessons were finished. Then I was able to go out. And most of the time that when I was playing, I was doing something that would be useful one day. I was out on the canoes or being taught how to make a spear so I can go spear fishing and different things like that.
What about medicine and that kind of